And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Kolby Goodman. Kolby, first of all, thank you for taking some time to be with me today.
Thank you for having me on, Michael. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. It's really cool. It's going to be a great conversation because Kolby does something that not many people do. He is founder and owner of a company called, see if I get this right, Best First Now. And I had to stop and look at that and figure out what he does. But what Kolby does is he helps entrepreneurs find the right employee, not just the next one. And
hmm
so what he does is he's a hiring consulting firm that really helps you build your team with right people to avoid the churn or the wheel of not fortune of just going through people. How do you find those right people? So that's what we're going to dive into. It's going to be a phenomenal conversation. Kolby, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
It's a really good question, Michael, and I appreciate you asking it. Before I started this company, I had spent over a decade as a career consultant, helping individuals who had felt stuck, who felt like they were in a dead end, who just were on a trajectory in their careers that didn't really love.
Mm-hmm.
And I would help them in understanding what that passion was, how to leverage their skill sets and their expertise to build a life they really wanted for themselves. And through that, through the coaching, through developing resumes and LinkedIn profiles, helping them prepare for interviews and negotiate offers, 4,000 people later realized that my clients were high achievers. They were willing to take the time, the energy, and the monetary investment to better themselves. They were, I may be biased here, Michael, but they were ideal employees for any manager worth their salt. But
Right.
these people had found a confidence and found an excitement about their work and their lives that they were actively saying no to opportunities that didn't fit them. And I was thinking, I heard every cringe story, every horror story in the book when it came to poor candidate experiences,
Yeah.
badly written job postings, unprofessional interview processes, lowball offers. And I just said something has to change. I don't. I would have to assume, and then this is probably the pessimist or the optimistic in me, is nobody's intensely driving away a rock star hire, but we're doing it anyways.
Right.
So how can I develop an action plan, a strategy, an approach, a proven approach to help either first time hires, seasoned hires, people who are on the cusp of growth but just can't figure out to break that code,
Yeah.
to go out there and, like you said, not just find the next person who may be good, who just fills a role, who takes up space, but go out there and find an impactful problem solver who not only can make you money but can save you time and give you a lot more peace of mind as you run your business.
Okay, so you switch sides then. If
Mhm.
I understood it, you used to you used to help people figure out who they were and what their passions were and skills and help them find jobs and careers. And then you saw the problems, I guess. And so you flipped it and now you work with entrepreneurs to go, let me help you build the right system, have the right job description, all that, so you will attract these high performing people. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So I have switch sides, I guess, is a good way to put it. I'm what I call it is I'm completing the circle, right?
Okay.
I'm helping hires find ideal people, um, after finding out what it's like on the other side for so long.
Yeah. That's fascinating. I love that because you have a unique insight from both sides. I don't know why a switch hitter in baseball just came to me. They can hit left-handed or
Yeah.
right-handed.
Yeah.
That's really what you do because you understand both sides.
Mhm.
And okay, so let's dive in because entrepreneurs are terrible at this because again, nobody teaches us this, right? We're passionate about our business. I
Correct.
I have forgotten more about my company than most people will ever know. And I think that's where most entrepreneurs are. Business owners don't get schooled or trained in hiring people. So what are some of the potential flaws or challenges
Mhm.
that you've seen from business owners, entrepreneurs that drive people away?
They are not inspiring their potential candidates for future success. If
Mm,
you look at a vast majority, if not all of the job descriptions online right now, they will be talking about what the company needs that person to do, right? We need you to have these qualifications, these would be your responsibilities, and it makes the job seem soul sucking at best,
Yeah.
right? And what I found in over a decade of being a career consultant is that people are driven by positive stress. It's called eustress, right? Versus de-stress. Eustress
Yeah.
is positive. And we find that eustress and we find that zone of excellence and that flow state when we're put up against problems that give us the right energy. And so in these job descriptions, and what's proven really successful for my clients is we need to talk about what are the problems that we want this next person to solve, right? Because this does a few things for you. One is it attracts the right people who are not simply going to run out the clock 9 to 5 on a day-to-day basis. Um, it's going to attract proactive critical thinkers who are looking for things to solve, things to streamline, processes to optimize. And you go into the relationship almost as peers,
Yeah.
right? Not as this, high status employer and low status employee, right? Because you are no longer simply a boss, you are a problem haver looking for a problem solver.
I love it. I love and well, I really love that. One of my marketing gurus is Roy Williams, and he writes great radio ads and things for companies, and is growing lots of companies. But he's done a lot of recruiting ads for his, HVAC companies or jewelers or something.
Mhm.
And you listen to one of his recruiting ads, and it's nothing about the what are we doing in the job. It's exactly what you're talking about. Is this is the type of culture we have. This
Mm.
is the type of person we're looking for. If you're a growth oriented, blah blah blah, right? And I thought, man, that is a totally different approach. And it's exactly what you're talking about because I don't want to get into a job where I'm just checking off because that's soul sucking. I love
Yeah.
that phrase.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so how do you help business owners get past that to
Yeah.
find these people?
So I help them understand what do they want their lives to look like after they make this hire, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of the times, especially as entrepreneurs, right? You and I know this. We wear all the hats all the time,
Yeah.
and most of the time to our detriment,
Yeah.
right? And so, what of those hats do you want to give away? What are you finding the most pain and frustration and time suck in your day that we can give to somebody,
Yeah.
right? Because we should, in every investment that we make in our business, especially people,
Oh, totally.
it needs to have a positive ROI, not only monetarily, but also emotionally and mentally. And I don't think a lot of people think like that, unfortunately,
I think you're
right?
right. I think you're
And
right.
so, oh, go for it.
Well, no, and therein lies the reason many times we have turnover. It's because we bring somebody in to do a job. We don't give them a vision for the future. We don't equip them. And no wonder they leave us in 3 months,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then we come back to, well, there's nobody out there who's going to work. Well, I don't want to work for you. That's for sure. Um,
It's so funny you say that, Michael, because that's a lot of the mental inertia that I get to help my clients overcome. Nobody has to work for you. It's not a like it's having a job is not a privilege. It's really for you. And so it's like it's a relationship. And I think breaking
yeah,
down is like I'm trying to find a positive contributor to the business and not just a robot who has the
right.
ability to call in sick at the exact right time.
Right. Well, and if you go back to your background
Mhm.
before you switched hitting, right, and went to the
Yep.
other side, you if you're looking for somebody who is passionate about what they're going to do, and they're going to bring their skills, talents, and abilities, and you're going to give them a pathway to the future that's bigger and better for them, whatever that might be.
Mhm.
You don't have to manage them like you do other people. If come alongside of me, let's be in the same yoke,
Mhm.
heading in the same direction. Here's what we're trying to accomplish, but now I'm going to get out of your way.
I think what you described there is between management and leadership.
Yeah.
Managers are out there and they're trying to drive the train forward, and it feels like a struggle because you feel like, well, they don't care as much as I do, or they're not good as I am, and it always puts the blame on somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you want to be a good leader and empower your team, and ultimately in the long run relieve yourself of that stress, you have to lead, you have to empower.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like you said, we're never taught how to do this. It's a lot of trial and error and baptism by fire,
Yeah.
right? And so I try to teach my clients, how do you have the mindset to start this relationship right in the first place so
Yeah.
that you're not repeating this painful, costly, and timely process time and time again.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, thousands of dollars and light nights spent just staring at the ceiling, screaming, going, really? Because again, we're not trained in this. And I know there are companies out there that are just experiencing this turnover. It's like they're on this treadmill and they can't get, bane of my existence right now, Kolby, we can help you scale your business, right, to 8 figures. It's like, no, you're not, because A, you don't have systems, and B, you don't have people. You're
Yeah.
not going to do that all by yourself. Talk about the high turnover ratio. What are some tips you can give entrepreneurs just to, if they're experiencing high turnover, what are some things they can do like now
Well,
besides
first
talk?
of all, yeah, they need to take a hard, honest look in the mirror.
Okay.
I think that whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a traditional manager or leader in a business, we tend to ascend to these roles not because of the people and the emotional element of it, but because we're really good at the thing.
Yeah.
You become the accounting manager because you know how to do accounting. You
Yep.
become the software developing leader because you know how to write code.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you know how to lead a team, cultivate a team, build a team from scratch. And so I think looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what am I not providing my team that is forcing them to look elsewhere? And
Mm.
I think too, the best way, and even what I find is that perspective, internal perspective is very limited, right? We live our entire lives in our own heads. And so what I recommend is having an honest conversation with people who have left you and say, hey, like, what went wrong here? I'm looking to, like, hi, Jane Doe, you know, this is bad,
Yeah.
Mr. Bad manager. I'm trying to change.
Yeah.
I really screwed up with you. I apologize. I'm curious to understand your perspective about how our relationship was, why you left.
Yeah.
And I think people, when you have that honesty and that vulnerability, it gets you so much farther. And you need to get outside of yourself. So that would be number one, is why are they leaving you? But also too, saying, are you developing a culture, or are you simply just building a company? I think those are two very different things.
Okay. Unpack that a little bit. I love that, by the way. Unpack that.
And I think it's the difference between selling or servicing a widget. Are you simply just doing the thing, or are you cultivating a culture in a tribe of people who are passionate about the impact the thing makes?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's go back to your example of your HVAC buddy, right? It's like, well, okay, like you don't have to be super passionate about cleaning ducts,
Right.
right? But if you know that, hey, we're here to serve our customers, we're here to build relationships, we're here to come back year after year after year, we're here to make sure these people leave happy, healthy lives where they can be heated and cooled without compromise, right?
Yeah.
That's a culture versus
Right.
simply just a business of doing HVAC. And
Yeah.
again, I think we get so stuck in doing entrepreneurs are great because they hyper focus, myself
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
But that hyperfixation also is a detriment for long term growth and success.
It really is. It really is, because when you build that culture, it impacts not just your employees, but it impacts your marketing, word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything, because people know that you're different, right? Wow, that's amazing. Plus, your employees come, your team members come, and now they're part of something bigger than themselves,
Yep.
right? I don't go to a job. I mean, I've told people this year. I mean, people work for a paycheck, but it's like fourth or fifth or sixth down the road, down the ladder. People
Mm-hmm.
work for an attaboy. Well done, Kolby. You did a great job. Where did they get that? Right? They can go get $10,000 more
Yep.
from somebody else,
Yep.
but they don't have the culture. So
Yep.
building culture is huge, huge, huge. That's great. How do you work with entrepreneurs? Is it a 1 month thing, a 6 month thing, a coaching? What are some options? Because I know there are people out there going, I need this guy.
So I work with people on a per position basis, right? So let's say you are looking to hire a new operations person. You
Mhm.
are out there selling, you're out there servicing, you're doing the revenue generating things in the field or on the phone, but you need somebody in the back to manage the logistics, to be the man behind the curtain, to use a dated phrase, right? And so
Yeah.
I as you look to hire that new person, I come in and we work together to really formulate, what is their problems they're going to be solving for you.
Hmm.
And with that, What private experience do you think you need? What expertise are you looking for? And then how do we then shift from there to go, okay, what is the perception of you in the candidate market? Are you, is there a poor track record? Do you have a murderer's row of disgruntled employees who are going to maybe, not want to market you moving forward, or who knows, right? And so, and I take them through the process of, kind of formulating what an ideal new hire looks like. How do we develop marketing and communication that attracts the right people? How do we get people to take action and apply, and the right people, right? Because
Yeah.
I think we don't want zero people to apply, obviously, but we also don't want 100 people to apply.
Right.
We need to find a happy medium that gives us a nice sample size. And so putting in barriers to entry, some easy and straightforward tactics to help people select in, and the right people to select out, because there's just
Yeah.
a little bit of a barrier to entry.
Yep.
And then go through the process of pre-screening and interviewing and evaluating, so that you are, again, developing, you're not only evaluating fit and capabilities and future growth, but you're cultivating a relationship. You need
Yeah.
to treat your next employee like your biggest client.
Absolutely. Dude, everything you just talked about there is what I talk about in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wrote down here marketing for team members.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what you're teaching these business owners to do. And if entrepreneurs get that one nugget from this podcast, that when you're out looking to build your team, you're marketing, you're communicating, you're drawing them in, you're repelling some of them, you've got barriers to entry, you're preconditioning, all of that, so that that first interview really isn't. It's a second or a third interview
Yeah.
for both of you. And now we can say, okay, great, Kolby, I see all your education and all your experience, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk. Are we a good fit?
That right there is the crux of it. It's not about, do you qualify? It's about, is this a mutually beneficial relationship? And if it's not, no hard feelings,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'd rather find that out in an interview stage than in 6, 9, 12 months down the road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's so important, so critical. Um, do you in your whole process, and I assume you talked to some
Mm-hmm.
like personality styles, or they got all the tests and things. Does
Mm-hmm.
that come into play at some level? Because if you're looking for an accountant versus a salesperson, those are wildly different people. I assume that plays into something where you're guiding entrepreneurs to go, here's the arsenal of tools that Kolby brings to the table. Because,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I've got a bow and arrow and I got one arrow. That's all I got.
So it's about, in that initial stage, about what is this person going to be doing for you and with you,
Okay.
right? And so if I definitely have prescribed DISC assessments, first of all, for leaders and owners.
Yeah.
Again, that self-evaluation is super important. What I love about being an entrepreneur is that I am a for-profit self-learner. I get paid to learn. A lot of entrepreneurs maybe don't do that as much as they should. I
Yeah.
know I could probably be doing more of it, but helping them with that, and then saying, hey, if you're this quadrant of the spectrum, how do we bring in somebody that complements that?
Yeah.
And I think too, just like, how are you going to do it? Like, do you want to be left alone? Do you want multiple check-ins? Like, we need the personalities to fit, or else
Right.
that person could be an expert in what you need them to do.
Yeah.
But if the emotional and the human side doesn't click, none of it
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah. And then after, and it'd be interesting to have this discussion real quick, is after you get the hire, helping that entrepreneur understand that it's not, okay, Kolby, thanks for joining us. Go get them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the final piece of the puzzle is, um how do we perpetuate a positive onboarding experience, right? Because an employee knows within the first 4 weeks of employment if they're going to be there for a year, a decade, or a lifetime, right? And I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, we're so used to doing everything ourselves. We're not used to training. We're not used to documentation. And so working with my clients, say, okay, how do we make this next hire? How do we cultivate them so that they can ultimately, as you hire number one, how does it make it that much easier to hire number two, and that much easier to hire number three? And so that kind of operational training part of it, I also help my clients with, because they're just, again, nobody teaches you how to teach.
They don't.
And so that kind of empathy, that kind of meeting in the middle is really important to make the next employee that you have feel empowered
Yeah.
and not simply just, you said, left on a lurch to say, okay, figure it out on your own. And they're disconnected, they feel lost, they don't feel empowered themselves, and then they go quickly looking elsewhere for someone
Yeah.
that'll do that for them.
Well, and the thing I love is we've had this chat, Colby, is um, small business owners, entrepreneurs, as they're growing, they normally do not have an HR department.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where big companies, well, just go to the HR. We need somebody, and they do all that work, right? And they're not going to hire a chief human resource person as an entrepreneur. But I can connect with you and say, okay, Colby, my business is growing. My vision is over the next 3 to 5 years, I'm probably going to add 3 or 4 key members to my team and maybe 3 or 4 others, but I want to do it strategically. I want to do it right. And I want to build these processes. Can we work together? And it might be that we do one now, and in 12 months, we do a second one. And in 6 months, we do another. But you become my fractional HR department in a sense, because you understand my company, but you understand the market, and you go, okay, here's how we need to start positioning and start thinking. Is that fair?
I think it's, I know HR unfortunately has this rap, right?
Yeah.
It's the rule, the rule makers and the rule enforcers. I really see myself as somebody who is people operations, and and I see that as a
Oh,
very
I like that.
distinctive difference, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm here to help you leverage people expertise to grow and sustain your business,
Love
right?
that.
And I think
Yeah.
a lot of times with traditional HR, it is needs to be a lot of the legal and a lot of the compliance work, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know enough of that so that we don't cross any boundaries, but my real expertise comes in, how do we make this investment
Love it.
positive for you in the long term?
Yeah. I love it. Investing in your people is one of the best investments you will ever make, because I have found, Colby, as I've hired people in my business, when I make a good hire, my business grows. They pay for themselves, they bring back an ROI, everybody's happy. When we make a bad hire, there's a lot of cost and a lot of time. And so we hire slow, but that helps because we've learned from the school of hard knocks.
I think that is such a valuable thing. I think a lot of times, again, as entrepreneurs, we're hyper focused, so we think short term.
Yeah.
But if and what I make my clients do is think slow,
Yeah.
think purposefully when it comes to your most expensive investment that will hopefully become your most valuable, but in the
Sure.
short term, it is expensive. Not only in the pay, but also the time dedicated. Because if you're in an interview, if you're reviewing resumes, you're not selling, you're not
Right.
servicing. It's a net negative process.
Right.
And our goal here is to get the right people in, provide them with the right training and the right support so that they become revenue positive
Yeah.
quicker in the calendar. But if you're simply, hiring fast, if you're only going to your neighbor's cousin's, second son, right, to look for the
Right.
right person,
Not. Yeah.
that short term frustration is going to turn into long term pain. And
Yeah.
like you said, you continue this painful flywheel.
Yeah.
And if you can take the time to be purposeful now, not only is that first hire more effective, but we turn the flywheel, we turn into a perpetual employee machine, meaning
Mm.
you're going to empower your employees to love what they're doing for you and with you. You're going to get them to tell their friends, their family, their networks. And instead of having to post a job for your next hire, you're going to have 10 people lined up at the door who want to work for you because you've developed a system and a
Yeah.
culture that invites high performers into your company.
Right. Man, that is a dream that can come true for entrepreneurs. It really can. Um, Colby, man, we could talk for a long time because this is really, really fun. How do and I know we've scratched some itches out there or
Yeah.
whatever, but how do people take that next step? Where do they find out more about you,
Yeah.
how they might work with you, all of that? Where do they go?
Yeah. Two best places to find me are my website, bestfirstnow.com. Hire the best, hire them first, hire them now. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Kolby Goodman, Kolby, last name Goodman, just like it sounds. Let me know that you heard me here on Paperback Expert, and I would be more happy to connect and answer any
Awesome.
questions and see if my expertise could make a positive impact in your business.
That's great. Kolby, man, thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for being a switch hitter and bringing all of your experience to the table for entrepreneurs who desperately need what you do so that we can make a bigger impact in the world with our communities, our clients, because we are taking off some of those hats and
Mhm.
hiring the right people to help us grow our business. Man, it is amazing what you do. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for being my guest. This has been a really fun interview, man.
It's been a pleasure, Michael. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.